for the dry ice to come out, to sublimate out as a gas. The mosquitoes are identified to species, separated by what species they are, 10 or 14 different ones. And then the greatest thing we always get, I'm sure, because this is reported almost every year, there are no mosquito pools positive. We have not reported any mosquito pools positive, and I'm sure everybody says, well, what the hell are they doing? Out there sampling all those swimming pools, or what? What is a mosquito pool? I don't know where the term came from, but basically it is the two pool or two group. You put 50 or 60 of the same insane species collected from the same trap site into one group. And that is a mosquito pool, and that's how they're tested. These are shipped to Albany once a week, generally on Fridays. The 4 counties in the Oneida Lake Basin, Oswego, Oneida, Madison, Onondaga, make up a consortium, if you will, of counties that each county is out there doing the surveillance, collecting the mosquitoes. They each have an allocation. We rotate sending them in. They all go into Albany. The pools go into Albany every Friday. They're put onto tissue culture, a tissue culture which will grow almost any arthropod-borne virus in the world. It's a virocell. It's a derivative of African green monkey kidney. And if, in fact, you have a virus in the mosquito group, you will get holes in the cell layer. And then when you look at it under a microscope, you might see this budding here. And that is actually Eastern equine encephalitis virus that was isolated from the brain tissue of a donkey. And that's what would cause the holes. And again, that's slightly different because it's a donkey brain rather than a mosquito pool. But again, the process is the same. In terms of Cicero Swamp itself, there are currently three trap sites, one on Island Road, one on Path Road, and one on Route 298, and those sites have been continuously monitored since 1984. I will make one correction to Jessica's introduction. I don't work very much in Cicero itself. I spend most of my time on the North Shore in Oswego County at the Toad Harbor or 3 Mile Bay game management area. Simply, we began up there in 1978, and there's a field lab up there, and that monitoring has been going on since 1978. That's where I do most of my research. And basically, what we're looking for is Eastern equine encephalitis, triple E, as it's commonly referred to. Again, it is circulated in the swamps, like Cicero, that support this one mosquito, Cicero melanura. And I was talking to my regional health director one time, and he looked at me after going through all of these permutations and everything. He said, "You mean if Cicero swamp were not there, we would not have Eastern equine encephalitis?" And that's absolutely correct. If you get rid of Cicero swamp, you would not have this mosquito, you would not have Eastern equine encephalitis. Now, are any graduates of the SUNY ESF here? You are. Do we remember how to make a green space?
Not really.
Not really. Slash, clear cut, burn, pave it, and paint it green.
That's pretty easy.
That's what you would have to do to get rid of the threat of Eastern equine encephalitis from Cicero swamp. There is traditionally considered 2 other species which kick the virus out from birds into things like pheasants, horses, and humans, and I'll come back to that anyway. But everything is concerned with that one mosquito. We monitor primarily for Cicero melanura and the other species. How come more spraying doesn't occur? Well, basically, as I said, it is a type 1 action. We are not going to support any spraying unless we have a risk to the public health. Now, over the years from 1960 1970 through 1991, Easton was fairly active. We had 2 human cases, one in Oswego in 71 and one here in Onondaga County in 1983. We also had 93 equine cases, most of those in Oswego County, but some in Onondaga County, and some activity also occurs in Suffolk County and Sullivan County. In 1992, basically, Easton equine disappeared from 1992 to 2002. It's simply, there was no activity. Even though horses were still around, unvaccinated horses, we went through the rabies, raccoon rabies. What does raccoon rabies have to do with Eastern equine? If an equine dies with suspect encephalitis, the attending veterinarian has to consider rabies first as a public health threat. The brain is taken, it is shipped into Albany, it is tested for rabies. If it is rabies negative, it goes to the albovirus lab to be tested for Eastern equine, more recently West Nile virus also. So we went through, again, beginning 1990, raccoon rabies swept up through the state. So we had a lot of rabies, I don't know whether we had more equine cases of rabies, that is, or suspect rabies, suspect encephalitis, but certainly everybody was akin to it. So we didn't miss it there. And as I said, we have been looking at the mosquitoes since 1984 here in Cicero, even earlier than that, Oswego County, and there was just no virus activity. Absolutely none. That changed in 2003, and now from 2003 to 2009, we have had quite a bit of activity, and in some ways, we've had it in new areas, Clinton County, St. Lawrence County, Lewis County, one down in Chemung County, which still rather blows us mind, Ulster, and Sullivan County, another one in Orange, and one in Nassau County. These were all equine cases. And last year, we had our 3rd human case in Oswego, our 3rd human case in Oswego. So we've had an expanded area, although we haven't had quite as many equine cases as we had prior to this. Cicero Swamp has been sprayed 3 times, I think, 04, 05, and it was sprayed last year in response to the Eastern equine. But I will show you what happens when we do spray, and it is not pleasant. In terms of why we don't spray, again, in this May, Governor Patterson, at the urging of most communities, passed a ban on the use of pesticides on playing fields. The state health commissioner recently put out a directive saying less is best when you're using pesticides. On the other side of the coin, and I like to point this one out, state gives approval for the second treatment of Casanova Lake for milfoil. Now we know what state is referred to there. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation controls the application of pesticides, the certification of pesticide applicators, and particularly for that aquatic environment, they would be the ones giving the approval. Now again, you're saying which is more important, protection of the natural habitat, to get rid of an invasive species like milfoil, or the control of mosquitoes, which are an annoyance and pests. That's not my decision. That's your decision. That's your decision. If you want to do nuisance mosquito control, you have to get the state to give you approval. And there's nothing preventing you, by the way, from doing that. I guess there is something, it's called money. But again, you could do your own mosquito control within the town, consortium of towns on the north tier of the county, whatever. You can do it yourself. You just have to follow their regulations. And of course, there's a new one coming up, the Clean Water Act. I'm not going into